The fake news never miss an opportunity to make fools of themselves.
Quiet. You're very disrespectful in front of this young man. Okay? Don't you find her disrespectful? He understands. Quiet. Who are you with?
I'm with CNN.
Fake news.
I
You're
just wanted
fake
to follow
news.
up on this out-
You're loud. You're a loud, boisterous person. You're fake news.
I was
Be
trying to
quiet.
find out if
Be
you had
quiet.
been talking
Be
to
quiet.
Zero, if he had asked you
You're a
to
fake
scale back
reporter, and you
all the
report fake
military
news.
exercises.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, is there...
Wow. Okay. You know, and CNN released a statement defending this lunatic, Caitlin Collins wannabe that they have there. Not that wanting to be like Caitlin Collins is a good thing. You know, CNN, talk about not being self-aware. Here they have done nothing for the last 11 years but create false narratives and slander this great president, the greatest president we've ever had. And then he gives them a little pushback and, how dare you question us at CNN. They are sick, psychotic liars. You know, just recently, the story they have going on right now is the USS Abraham Lincoln story. That's a total false narrative. They've made the whole thing up. There's no truth in it whatsoever. We're at nation at war, and they're reporting fake news that they know they made up about not only one of our warships, but a lead ship in the entire war against Iran, to give confidence and hope to the Iranians, undermine our fighting men and women. They're disgusting. And President Trump handled them very appropriately yesterday. And their questions, not just their tone, their questions were nothing but inappropriate, right? This thing about Jon Ossoff, which I'm going to get into here right in the beginning. And, you know, Jon Ossoff, this scandal that they're trying to create, by the way, with it, which we're going to go through on the program today, is about one thing and one thing only, right? It's about elevating Jon Ossoff. Jon Ossoff is the senator, Democrat senator and creep from Georgia. He's up for re-election. I'll play you the clip in a moment. And he's saying just something disgusting. Yeah, that's right. Quiet, Peggy. Saying something just disgusting about President Trump. And what's going on with Jon Ossoff is the Democrats are attempting to elevate him to make him their nominee in 2028. And what they're trying to do by elevating him is make him the president's equal. They're trying to create a foil. They're very well aware in the Democrat Party that they have no candidates and no issues, that their leading people that they have now, Gretchen Whitmer, was praising Trump. I played the clip yesterday, praising Trump over the weekend. Gavin Newsom is just that, right? A failed, scummy governor, and a San Francisco, California liberal. He's not electable nationally. AOC's trying to reinvent herself, but all of her nonsense has been all over the internet for years, including 7 years ago when she said that the Earth will no longer be able to support life in 12 years, which, since it was 7 years ago, we're 5 years away from the Earth not being able to support life, according to AOC. So the question is, why is she freezing her eggs? It's very strange. I know, exactly. Why is she freezing her eggs? They don't have anyone. So they're out there looking to recruit, and Jon Ossoff is who they're looking to. Maybe he's already been recruited, really. They're looking to elevate him. And this exchange with CNN was all about that. And that's what I'm going to lead with today on the morning show. I've got a lot to cover. We're going to be live in a couple of minutes, and I'll go through all of it. But you see here on the Drudge Report, what is this? Let me pull this up. Hold on, this was on the Drudge Report today, which is where you go to find out what the liberals are thinking. Okay, and on the Drudge Report, look at this. Drudge Report. All the liberal filth that is fit to propagandize with. That's the Drudge Report. Ossoff liftoff. Ossoff liftoff. Where do they come up with that? Chat GPT? But you can see right there, and look at Jon Ossoff has a characteristic that I believe is one of the most distasteful characteristics an individual can have. Look at his mouth. Smug. He's in love with himself. He likes to look at himself in the mirror and tell himself how good looking and hot he is. I mean, you see that? See that look on his face? Mostly in his mouth. You can see the arrogance, the smugness. But they're elevating him to run for president in 2028. And I've got news for you. Every presidential election is important. This election's important in the midterms. Every election is the most important election because it's the one we're dealing with at that particular time. So the elections that we're dealing with right now are always the most important ever because it's the one that's happening and it's the one we can have influence and impact over. However, the next presidential election is so important for us to win because if the Democrats get back in, you know that woke one? That AOC's like, oh, woke one was crazy, ah, ha, 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 even though she's like the mother of woke one. They will come back with woke one, and they will times infinity and quadruple down on it and shove it down our throats. And it's very important that we win every election, but the next few election cycles are the election cycles that are going to decide the future of our great country. Are we going to go into a direction of making America great again and forever? Or are we going to go down this disgusting, vile pit of liberal ideology, right? Abortion up to the moment of birth. Men and women's sports, including boxing, where you have men in the Olympics beating up women. Things like this. Is this, erasing the southern border, bringing people here from third world pits and setting them up with multi-billion-dollar Medicaid scams. That's what the Democrats have to offer, and that's where we will be going if they win the next few elections. And Ossoff with his... Do you guys agree with that look on his face, the mouth, that he's just smug and in love with himself? There's a lot of different negative personality quirks and traits people can have, all right? There's a lot of them, but I think that's the worst. I really do. Okay, we've got about 15 seconds, and then we'll be live. So I will take your calls. I've got a lot to cover. The number's toll-free, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. You got to look at the lips, right? The mouth. All right, here we go. Welcome to the program. My name is Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 glorious years on the radio. Okay, it is Tuesday. We've got a lot to cover today. I want to talk about this Jon Ossoff creep who's accusing the president of another affair. You know, these Democrats, because they can't control themselves, they assume that President Trump and all men are just like them, that if there's a woman around, the man in power, of course he's having sex with her. No, we're not all sick psychos like you Democrat men. But let me play the clip. This is Jon Ossoff. He's for those that don't know, Ossoff, he's the senator from Georgia. He's a Democrat. He's up for re-election. All right, listen.
But they deserve competent leaders who send them into combat only when necessary, and with decisive clarity of purpose, not fools who lie about the purpose and progress of war. And while the sailors on the Lincoln fight his war, while he fruitlessly drains our munitions and oil reserves, the president sleeps through his meetings. He golfs and trades stocks. See, he doesn't want to do the job. He wants to build his ballroom and travel with Natalie on their apparently defenseless flying palace gifted by the Emir of Qatar.
I got to tell you, there's a lot of words for this guy that to describe him that I cannot use on the air, or I'd have to dump myself. All right, he's a real piece of work. This guy's a pig. He's a very dangerous pig too, and you don't hear me call people pig too often. But this is a very dangerous man, Senator Ossoff. He is very dangerous. What's going on with this guy is, now again, he's Democrat senator from Georgia. He's up for re-election. And the Democrats have plugged him to run for president in 2028, if everything goes well. And he's very well aware of this. It's already been discussed, you can tell. And what they're attempting to do is elevate him to be President Trump's equal. See, the Democrat Party, they don't have any voices. They don't have any superstars. They don't have a bench like we have of Marco Rubio's, JD's, many great people like that. They've got AOC and a bunch of rejects, Ahmed, right? A bunch of rejects, Gavin Newsom. But Ossoff, they're trying to elevate, and they're trying to make him the president's equal, right? He says something. One of their fake news reporters that's in collaboration with the Democrats, yesterday it was CNN, will ask the president to comment on what Ossoff said, and then all of a sudden there's a feud going on, and Ossoff is the president's equal. This is propaganda 101 here. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this one out, but that's what's going on. And this guy, Ossoff, I really despise this guy. I really do. And I don't have hatred for too many people. There are I'm not going to tell you what they all are. I'm going to reveal one of them. But there's a handful of traits that individuals have that I just cannot stand. I'm not going to tell you what they all are because you might put them down as, like a pet peeve, And I don't want to tell all you guys my little pet peeves or you'll use them against me. And this isn't a pet peeve, but it's something when I see in someone, I can't stand that person. I can't stand that person. And you can see it in the face of Senator Ossoff here. You got to look at his mouth. This guy is in love with himself. He is so smug. He is so smug and in love with himself. And it's an expression on the mouth that I've seen in others that are in love with themselves. I'm in broadcasting. I've known a lot of people that are in love with themselves. Okay, it's broadcasting. Bunch of self-important jerks. The ones that are in love with themselves, they're usually the most insecure or insane. And I think Ossoff fits into the insane category. When someone is that smug and in love with themselves and they have this look that maybe somebody out there in the audience could describe this better than I, because I've seen people like this over the years, and I don't really know how to explain it other than it drives me nuts because people like this it's a real bad turnoff, man. I got to tell you. The look in Ossoff's mouth, in his lips, is so smug. And there are many words I can use to describe it. The reason I'm finding words difficult is because the words to describe this type of personality I can't use, or I'd have to dump myself. All right? And there's a lot of words to describe the look on his face. But he is psychotic, he is evil, and he's very dangerous, Ossoff. And this story that they're trying to get off the ground, that the president is involved in an affair, is insane. Now, my theory that they have tapped him to run for president and he's at the top of their list, this isn't something I just pulled out of my MAGA hat. Go to the Drudge Report, and on the Drudge Report, they have Mr. Smug psychotic. And I'm telling you, when I see this guy's face, Ossoff, you know what I see in his face, in his eyes, in his mouth? Insanity. An insane person like Gavin Newsom, like Gretchen Whitmer. I mean, totally insane. So they have this guy, Ossoff. This is the front page of the Drudge Report. And then underneath it, it says, Ossoff liftoff. And that's when the bells started going off. Ossoff liftoff. What that means is this sick, disgusting comment that he made about the president is as crazy as this sounds, but the Drudge Report is telling us right here, this is his launch of his presidential campaign. He's running for re-election in the Senate, but it's also the launch of his presidential campaign. So we'll go through this. I'd very much like to hear your thoughts. Am I being too tough on the senator? Or does he look nuts? Does he look smug and in love with himself? Does he look insane to you? Look at his face on the Drudge Report. Let me know. I'm curious. Is it just me? There's just something about that look that really just ticks me off. Oh boy, I tell you, and they what they've done is created because. Let me pull this up. Hold on a second. Let me pull this up. They've created this whole narrative. Donald Trump's favorite aide returns to White House after weekend away with the president. They're talking about Natalie Harp. Natalie Harp is an aide to the president. They didn't have some weekend getaway together. But the Democrats are creating this. And don't worry, I'm going to get to the question after the break of where's Melania? All these liberals, where's Melania? If you watch and read liberal news, they don't really have much content. All they have are slogans. Where's Melania? Where's Melania? Where's Melania? I'm going to tell you after the break, lowlives, okay? Don't go anywhere. But with Natalie Harp here, because Democrat men can't control themselves because they're perverted, psychotic, out of control men like Swalwell, Biden, President Clinton, and others. They assume that all men are this way. And they're trying to get this narrative going that the president is having an affair with Natalie Harp. Nothing could be further from the truth. Shame on you, Senator Ossoff. You're a scumbucket. All right? Just because Democrat men want to have, the few of them that are straight, want to have sex with every woman that walks by, doesn't mean that Republicans are that way. All right? We're going to take our first break of this Tuesday morning. I mean, I'm really angry at this guy, and it's hard for me because I don't want to slip and have to get dumped on the air. But where's Melania? I'm going to tell you after the break where Melania is, and we'll talk about that. These talking points from the left, they're so vacuous, just a bunch of sick, psychotic losers. But I do want to hear your thoughts on all of this, including, do you see that same look on Ossoff's face that I see? Does it look like they've tapped him to run for president in 2028? The number is toll-free, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you are located. I want to take a moment to talk about Lighthouse Medical. Those of you that suffer from neuropathy, listen, neuropathy is really bad. And you know what? The thing about neuropathy is it only gets worse. Whatever stage of neuropathy you or your loved one is in, whether it's the very early stages, the middle stages, or the late stages where you're homebound and bedbound, Lighthouse Medical Center can help you. I've seen listeners of this program and met listeners and spoken with listeners at every stage of neuropathy. I've talked for years about how they rid Steve of his neuropathy, and it has not returned. And what I didn't realize until recently is that Steve had not the earliest neuropathy, but he was beginning the middle stages of neuropathy. And I met a couple of our listeners who are in the late stages of neuropathy, and now they are neuropathy free thanks to Lighthouse Medical Center. Give Lighthouse Medical Center a call. Their neuropathy treatment works, and it lasts. No matter what stage of neuropathy you are in, give them a call. And many people call for their loved ones who are suffering. You know, get out of the house again, be able to drive again, be able to go to the mall, be able to go to lunch with your friends, be able to golf again, be able to take vacations. Call Lighthouse Medical. The consultation is free if you mention you heard about them on the Steve Kane Show. 754-222-6642. 754-222-6642. That's 754-222-6642. And online, lighthousemedicalcenter.com. We'll be right back. Okay. I'll get into, when we get back, I'm going to get into the where's Melania, all right? I'm going to get into that, and you're very much welcome to call in about it. I mean, you Democrats that are watching me right now, in particular in the chat, do you not have any common decency at all? I see what you guys write in the chat. What the hell is wrong with you? Look at the words and the language that you use and the thoughts that go through your mind. What's wrong with you? I mean, I know you're liberals, but think about it. Think about yourself. And I'm serious about that. You know, you don't see the MAGA people in the chat using the language and the phrases that you use. Why are these nasty words, thoughts, and comments exclusive to Democrats in the audience? What is wrong with you? Explain yourselves. You're weirdos and perverts. I see what you're saying there. It's really scary. And you know what's scary? You know what's scary is they're the average Democrat. You know, Democrats are mentally unstable if you haven't noticed. I'm going to get into where's Melania when we get back. We'll be back in less than 2 minutes. We're in radio break right now. You're all welcome to call in. The number is 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. They're not bullies. They're incel lunatics. You know, I was young. I wasn't like that. I'll tell you that. The Democrats attracts nutcases. You know? I mean, that's a lot of it. The Democrats attract nutcases. They're nutcases. They, you know, we have less than a minute and we'll be back from the radio break. Well, I take live calls here. You're welcome to call me and we'll talk. All opinions are welcome, whether you agree or disagree. The number is toll free and pinned in the live chat. Keyboard cowards, man up, be a man. I know you don't have girlfriends. I know you're incels. I understand that, but try to be a man and pick up the phone and call and we'll talk. All right. Stand by. Seconds away. Here we go. Less than 10 seconds. All right, we're back. I'm Brian, it's the Steve Kane Show. So, liberals never have anything really other than vacuous talking points. This has always been this way since I started out. The talking points just change over the years. Like when I first started, liberals had these talking points, right? Oh, you're the party of David Duke. Oh, you're the party of Strom Thurmond. You support corporate welfare. All these stupid talking points that mean nothing. So liberals with vacuous talking points is nothing new. The only thing that changes are the actual words and phrases. It's kind of like music, right? There's hits, one-hit wonders, long-term hits, forever ones. And, and the talking points are kind of like, music. Most of them run out after a while, but they got a new one. It's called Where's Melania? Oh, they love this one. Where's Melania? And it really shows you this. And this fits into this jerk, Mr. Smug Ossoff that I was talking who was yesterday, who was obviously in coordination with CNN with that questioning that went down yesterday at the White House. And what they're implying is Melania's not around because the president's having an affair. Oh, my goodness. One of the things I've learned in life about guys, the men, for the most part, that mess around all have something in common. What do you think that is? The men that mess around when they're older and married, they have something in common. What do you think that is, other than being like heterosexual? And it's a pretty simple thing. Some people, ego. No, I'll tell you what it is. They couldn't get girls when they were in high school or college. I mean, can you imagine Eric Swalwell picking up a girl in high school or college? Who would have anything to do with him if he didn't have secrets to steal, right? Exactly. The men that are sexually perverted when they're grown men and married, now there's exceptions to every rule, but for the most part, they're guys that couldn't get girls in high school or college. And now they're just as dorky and as ugly as they were in high school and college, but, they're in Congress. Or they have secrets that can be stolen, or things like that. So they're out of control, like Massey, as an example. You ever see Massey? Oh my goodness, he grew that beard that makes him look insane, right? He looks crazy with the beard, like Rasputin. But you see Massey without the beard, and you're like, who would have sex with Massey? Oh my goodness, you think Massey could get girls in high school and college? I don't think so. And that's a typical thing. And President Trump has always been surrounded by beautiful women. So that so someone like Donald Trump doesn't have these failings that so many of these Democrats. Look at Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton always had a problem with the weight. He was always goofy, kind of stupid, and everything else. And he really couldn't get girls when he was younger, and he was a bookworm. Then all of a sudden, he's Attorney General of Arkansas, he's governor, he's president, and then he's out of control. He can't control himself. So they project that onto President Trump. Now, there's exceptions to every rule, but that's a pretty good rule of thumb. So they have this whole coordinated thing going on. Where's Melania? Where's Melania? They've been asking this question for weeks. Stupid phrases. That's as vacuous as Canada's not for sale. A few months ago, maybe it was a year ago, I can't remember. Sometime over the last year, they had some Saturday Night Live reunion, and Mike Myers was there. And, hey, I remember Mike Myers, Wayne's World, party time, Wayne's World. Everybody liked him. Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery and everything else. And he's fallen and kind of washed up. I know he's got something new coming on, but he's on stage at this Saturday Night Live reunion. All of a sudden in the back, he yells, "Canada's not for sale!" And I'm like, oh my goodness. Poor Mike Myers. I heard he got divorced, so he's broke. So he's virtue signaling, trying to get some work. I saw Tom Green, I like Tom Green. Remember, he used to be married to Drew Barrymore. They were married for like 3 weeks or something years ago. And he was interviewing the great Dan Aykroyd. And I like Dan Aykroyd. And I think Dan Aykroyd's somewhat conservative. But anyway, Dan Aykroyd, he's Canadian. And he's talking to Tom Green, who's Canadian. And he's like, Canada's not for sale. What the heck does that mean? Canada's not for... Who's trying to buy it? Who the heck would want it? Right? All these vacuums. So where's Melania? So they've got this coordinated thing going on. Where's Melania? Where's Melania? They've been asking this question for weeks. And now Ossoff comes out and says, oh, Trump's having an affair. And then CNN, Senator Ossoff said, I mean, they really think we're stupid. So, I was reading I was following this Ossoff scumbucket today, and I was reading some liberal news outlets. I read everything, okay? I don't just read conservative stuff. I read liberal things. I read conservative publications. I read everything in the news, okay? And this where's Melania is just everywhere. And I don't think I've brought it up. And this is MS Now. This is there today. Melania Trump keeps a much lower public profile in her second term as First Lady. The First Lady has done about half as many public events as she did at this point in President Trump's first term, an NBC News analysis found. A senior advisor says she prioritizes results over appearances. And then all these low-life Democrats keep asking, where's Melania? Where's Melania? It is true that Melania is doing fewer appearances. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Now, what they're trying to imply is she's so upset that President Trump's having this affair that she's not coming out and she's not. They even say she's not living at the White House. Why do you think Melania is doing fewer appearances than in the first term? I'm going to tell you after the break. If you're on hold, stand by. I'll get the calls eventually. Why do you think Melania is doing really less than half of the public appearances she did in the first term? 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. I'm going to answer the question of where Melania is after the break. And you Democrats, shame on you. Shame on you. Look at yourself in the mirror from time to time. And then start repeating your sicko talking points. 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. Indeed it is, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 years on the radio. We'll take our break for the bottom of the hour and be right back. If you're on hold, stand by. I'm going to answer the question of where Melania is because I know. Oh, boy. Now, those of you that are Medicare recipients, I want to talk to you about Chapter. Listen, you don't want to just stick in that same Medicare policy necessarily. You want to make sure that you have the right Medicare policy. And Chapter, they cover all 50 states, okay? So no matter where you are in this listening audience, Chapter can help you with your Medicare. Now, Chapter, because they're a national company, they have access to all the over 25,000 Medicare policies that are out there. They're not connected to just one company. They review all of the policies, no matter what company it is. You call the number, which I'm going to give to you in a moment. It's in the description of the video. I have it up on the screen, but I'm going to give it to you in a moment. And it costs you nothing to speak with a licensed Medicare advisor. And at no charge, they're going to review your policy to make sure that you have the right policy. Make sure that your medications are covered. Make sure your doctors and specialists are covered. And if you have a supplement, make sure you're not paying too much. Give them a call, 805-754-3033. 805-754-3033. That's 805-754-3033 for Chapter. Again, it's completely free, and they will review your policy at no charge, and you will speak to a licensed Medicare advisor. 805-754-3033. All right? Okay. We're going to be back shortly. So I'm going to tell you when we get back where Melania is. What do you guys think I'm going to say? And by the way, where are all these big mouths in the chat room? Calling me out, saying things. Where are you? Are you on hold? Cowards? I tell you. Wimps. Wimps. Okay. A little over a minute and we'll be back. We are still in radio station break. Where's Melania? I'm going to answer the question when we get back. Indeed. Hang in there. Oh, this is wonderful. Unbelievable. Oh, boy. I tell you, if you guys only knew what went on behind the scenes at this show, you'd be shocked what I have to put up with, go through, and ride the waves on. Something just happened a few seconds ago, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. I am shocked at what I just found out, okay? All right. I tell you, I should turn my phone off when I'm on the air. Whatever. Oh, my goodness. All right, 888-465-2631. Okay. So, where's Melania? In fact, what I just found out, I don't even know if I'd be here live. If I would have found this out before 6 a.m., I don't even know if I would be here live right now. Oh, boy. I might tell you when I wrap my mind around it. I tell you, it is, I can't believe it. If I would have found this out at 5 minutes to 6, would I be on the air right now live? It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Because the show must go on, of course. I can't believe it. Oh, my goodness. I tell you. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. It's going to be a good one. And there's 2 hours and 26 minutes to go. Oh, my goodness. You think this is easy. You guys think it's easy. All right, anyway, let me get back. So where's Melania? Where do you think Melania is? Before I tell you. Where do you think Melania is? It's pretty obvious. And when I tell you, you should feel very ashamed of yourself. You know where Melania is? She's not, you know why she's not in public? Because the Democrats keep trying to kill her husband. And you may have realized she just survived an assassination attempt at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. That's where Melania is. If you had a political movement in this country that was trying to kill people in your family every couple of weeks, Would you be going out in public? No, you would not. No, you would not. So all of you out there that are asking this, where's Melania? Shame on you. You know, if you saw her great movie on Amazon, you would see that when they were going over the activities on President Trump's second inauguration, Melania in her movie Melania was talking about the dangers after the multiple assassination attempts on the president of them getting out of the car on the parade route. If you had people that were trying to kill members of your family and you had survived an assassination attempt just a few short weeks ago, would you be out there? Has that even occurred to the Democrats? Has that even occurred to these lowlives at NBC News? I don't think so. Not only has it not occurred to them, even though I'm telling you right now, you can't let it sink in because the left are, you know what the left are consumed with? What do you think the left are consumed with? You know what it is? Hatred. Hatred. They hate President Trump, mainly because they hate themselves. But the Democrats are in a state. I mean, look at this. This whole move with where's Melania fits in with the Ossoff story. This is CNN. The rising Democrat. That's Ossoff. This is CNN. The rising Democrat is writing the script for his party's bid to finally rein in Trump. Really? Rein in? Like Trump's out of control and needs reined in? This is CNN I'm reading from. So, you know, the words and phrases are through the lens of psychos, okay? This is CNN. 2 rallies, nearly 1,000 miles apart and 2 days apart, laid out the increasingly stark choice confronting midterm election voters and a looming moment of reckoning over the nation's future course. And Atlanta, Georgia Senator Jon Ossoff delivered an acidic takedown of President Donald Trump. An acidic takedown? Oh, my goodness. Then they go through Trump. Then they show Ossoff again. They think this guy is their president. And, you know Matthew McConaughey, the actor? Do you remember his first movie that he became famous from? It was, what was the name of that movie? It was the one with Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, Pee Wee Herman, Jon Ossoff, Pee Wee Herman. What was that movie? A Time to Kill. Okay. Now, Matthew McConaughey had certainly been in movies before A Time to Kill, but nobody knew who he was. I saw Dazed and Confused, right? He had a bit part in that, but nobody knew who he was. You didn't know he was in Dazed and Confused until after he was famous from A Time to Kill. And before A Time to Kill came out, okay, no one had heard of Matthew McConaughey. No one. And I remember at the time, every newspaper, every newscast would have a story on Matthew McConaughey. And I remember Entertainment Tonight, we travel to the hometown of Matthew McConaughey. I guess it's where they had that mass shooting a couple years ago. And I remember Steve and I were talking about this. I remember talking about this on the air. I have never seen such fake hype over a person that no one's talked about. I've never heard of Matthew McConaughey. Why would anybody be excited about going to Matthew McConaughey's hometown? And it was this big promo that the studios had worked out through all the media and PR firms to make Matthew McConaughey a movie star before his movie came out, right? Convince everybody that he was a movie star, so when A Time to Kill came out, it'd be a hit movie. And I saw it. It was a good movie, right? Well, that's what's happening to Jon Ossoff. It's a PR campaign. Where's Melania? Oh, he's got the answer. She's hiding out. Trump's having an affair. Ossoff says At this rally where he made his disgusting, vile, perverted comment with the smug look on his face, it was a full house. Because when he's there, the camera pans and you see that he's in a full venue. Unlike Senator Kelly, who gave a speech on Sunday, to about 6 people. I'm not kidding or exaggerating. It's on my X, Brian Craig Show on X. Check it out. But the Democrats made sure that Ossoff had a full house at that arena he was speaking at because he's the foil. He's the guy. He's the one everyone's behind. He's popular. Just like Matthew McConaughey when no one heard of him. Now be honest. Before 3-4 days ago, how many of you had not heard of Ossoff? And those of you that did, how many of you did not know he was one of the senators from Georgia running for re-election? Most people, you didn't. Now, some of you, because this is a news and political audience, you may have heard the name, but you didn't know who he was. You didn't know what he looked like. You didn't know where he was from. You may not even know he was running for re-election until I told you. But they've elevated him, and they made sure he had a full house. One thing about Democrats and their crowds, they're never organic. They bust people in. So Ossoff had a full house for his speech of perversions, but it was not organic. It was fake. It was bust-in people. It was seat fillers to give the illusion that he's popular. And, and here's the thing about Democrats that you really have to think about with these Democrats. Is anything about a Democrat real? It's all fake. It's all PR. It's all propaganda. None of it is organic. I want to talk about Jamie Levack over at Swift Tax. He's amazing. Jamie Levack, who can help you with your taxes no matter where you are in the United States. He's here in South Florida, and if you're in South Florida, please meet with him in person if you'd like, but you don't have to. Of course, you can handle everything with Jamie Levack over the phone through a Zoom call, a FaceTime call. You don't have to meet in person, but if you would like to, Jamie would love to meet with you in person. But if you missed the tax filing deadline this year, don't worry. Call Jamie Levack. He's got a direct line to the IRS. He'll take care of it for you. If you have back years that you have not filed and you're worried about that certified letter and those garnishments and those liens, don't worry. Call Jamie Levack. He'll take care of it for you. If you owe money to the IRS, even if you've already made financial payment arrangements, call Jamie Levack. Have him review that. Make sure you still owe that money. He does incredible work. Give him a call. This number rings directly to Jamie Levack, so you could call or text 954-773-1587. 954-773-1587. That's 954-773-1587 for Jamie Levack at Swift Tax. We'll be right back. All right, now I got this crisis going on. I'm gonna see if I can figure out what the heck's going on. All right, so hang in there. Oh, it's not good. No, it sucks. No, I can't tell you what's going on, but I got a bit of a problem. Yeah, it's a problem. And it's one I'm not happy about. I'm here to tell you. But the show must go on. "15 seconds, and I can't take care of it while I'm here. This is insanity." All right, we're back. I'm Brian, Steve Kane Show. So I've got a bit of a crisis going on off the air, and I was trying to take care of it during the break, but it's hard to take care of things during a commercial break at, 6:48 in the morning. But the show must go on, and go on it will. Oh, my goodness. Now, I'm not going to tell you what it is. I may later, but I'm so aggravated about it, I don't want to tell you now because, I don't want to make a decision to tell you about something when I'm angry about it, because that's when you make terrible decisions. All right. Oh, boy. I tell you. It's just, gotta chill. Gotta chill. Sometimes you get information, things happen. It's live, okay? And, and when you're live, things happen, and there's nothing you can do about them. All right. Boy, oh boy. So anyway, I answered your question of... oh, my goodness. I answered your question as to where's Melania. Oh, I may be able to fix it during the break at the top. I don't know. I got a problem I'm trying to fix. When I should write a book. I really should write a book to give you the true behind the scenes of everything that has gone on this program over the years. You would be shocked. So if you go on the cruises, sometimes I'll let you guys know on the cruises some of the things that go on behind the scenes to our cruise crowd. But that's usually after a few martinis at the martini bar or some margaritas or something at the Sunset Bar. But or sitting on the beach of the Virgin Islands having some painkillers. But maybe one day I'll put it all into a book. And maybe it would be a book on tape. I'll do an audio book and I'll release it on tape. Oh man. Steve's been telling me this for years. We got to write a book, Brian. People have no idea what goes into keeping this show running as smoothly as it does, if you call this smoothly. All right, so let me get back to this. So I answered the question of where's Melania. There's another thing, though, that I want to talk about here, okay? And this is oh so true. Through the elections that we're facing right now are so incredible. Today's primary day here in the Sunshine State of Florida. Please go and vote for Byron Donalds, okay? Please go and vote for Byron Donalds today. It's very important. After the primary's over, and Byron Donalds is our candidate, and we know who we're running against in the Senate and these House seats that are going on, I'll get more into details of the different races throughout the state of Florida. But Byron Donalds is so important. He is going to win the primary, but we need to have a mass turnout today. We really do. If you've not already voted early like I have, Republican votes are outnumbering Democrat votes in early voting and mail-in voting by a lot. And this is the first time this has happened in history. Never in the history of the state of Florida has the early vote come in favor of the Republicans over the Democrats. So we've already made history. We need that momentum because that momentum sends a message. There's one primary in Broward County that is, because it's Florida primary season. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is running in a black neighborhood. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she's been on the scene for as long as I can remember. And in all my years of following politics, in particular here in South Florida, I can say this with 100% honesty and accuracy. I have never met a single person in South Florida who knows who Debbie Wasserman Schultz is, who likes her. No, I'm telling you. And she's been a part of the Democrat Party machine so embedded that she's been invincible. And she's gone up in her re-elections in her district against some heavy hitters and wealthy people. And then we did redistricting, and her district no longer exists, that she's been running in all these years. So she's running in a black district now, in Pompano, and she could win it. In fact, she may be even favored to win it. And the reason is this. There's several people in the race. She's the only white person. So a lot of black people in this district are pissed. I get it. Debbie Wasserman Schultz has lived in Broward County in South Florida her whole life. She is probably traveling through neighborhoods and streets that she's never been on and never knew existed in Broward County before. And I've seen Debbie Wasserman Schultz in my Facebook feed at all of these events in this black district with black people, taking pictures with black people, doing things with black people. She hasn't been around so many black people ever in her life. I don't hang out in black neighborhoods either. I mean, I live in a very interracial neighborhood. I've got black neighbors, I've got some people across the street. I don't know what ethnicity they are. They're not white. I can't quite figure it out, But I live in a very interracial neighborhood. But it's a 100% black neighborhood district where Debbie's running. There's like 6 white people in it. And this has been historically a black district. I don't know if it's considered Alcee Hastings' old district. I don't know. But there's a lot of people over there that are plenty ticked off that Debbie Wasserman Schultz is running in this district. The problem is they're splitting the black vote. How many candidates do they have against her? 4, 5, 6? I don't know. There's a lot. So and a lot of them are pretty well connected. One of them's Luke Campbell from 2 Live Crew. One of them is a relative of Alcee Hastings. I can't remember the relation. Another one is the former congresswoman who was the congresswoman in that district, but she was tossed out of Congress for corruption. So the black Democrats that are running in this primary where Debbie Wasserman Schultz is, they're heavy hitters in that district, and each one of them is a local celebrity. And each one of them have a strong following. Problem is, they're competing. So they've split the black vote. Now, I haven't seen any polls out of that race that I would trust. I've been following it a little bit. But Debbie Wasserman Schultz could win it because they've split the black vote so many ways. Plus, Debbie Wasserman Schultz has the Democrat Party of Broward County on her side. And the Democrat Party of Broward County politics is more corrupt than Cook County, Chicago. Okay? It really is. They're like sister cities. Right? So she's got the Democrat Party machine on her side. They've split the black vote many different ways. So Debbie Wasserman Schultz may be the favorite to win. And that's how Mamdani got elected in New York, as the mayor. They split the vote all these different ways, low turnout. And if they had their act together in that district, they would have all dropped out and endorsed one that was popular, like Luke Campbell or something. But Debbie Wasserman, and whoever wins that primary will win the race, because it's a Democrat district, that Pompano district. I don't know what number it is. I can't keep track of. I know what number my congressional district is, but I don't remember the number of that one. But it doesn't matter. She's favored to win, and she's a survivor, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I'll put it that way. If she wins, I mean, this is crazy. If she wins that primary, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, in a neighborhood, in a district that is what the liberals call majority minority. It's such a joke. It really is such a joke. But I think she's the favorite to win that. You know, and the Democrat Socialist, you may have seen some stories nationally. They're making moves in Florida. Well, they're making moves in corrupt Broward County. There's a Democrat Socialist running in Broward County. You know, so there's all kinds of things going on, and we are going to have one of the most exciting election seasons after these primaries are done. And tomorrow is the beginning of the election season. We'll be past the primaries. We'll know who the candidates are, and we're going to talk about it. I saw that in this Vindman race, Colonel Vindman is running for United States Senate here in Florida in the Democrat primary. And there's only been one poll. It's been a while since the poll was taken. And he was in the lead. So we very well could have Colonel Vindman as a Democrat candidate for Senate here in Florida. Believe me, we're going to be all over that race. This is going to be one of the most exciting midterm election races that any of you have ever experienced. And it's going to be because it's so important. And we're going to be covering all of it each and every day here on the program. But I really would like Debbie Wasserman Schultz to lose this race today in Pompano. So those of you in Pompano, get together, get together with the community. In these black districts, they have the black voter guide. I mean, I would not be shocked if there's a black voter guide being handed out telling people to vote for Debbie Wasserman Schultz. It would not shock me, okay? But that's a real sad state of affairs that Debbie Wasserman Schultz could be elected in this district. It's really a shame is what it is. All right, 1 hour down, 2 to go. It's the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian Craig. We'll be back right after our top of the hour break. All right, I'm going to go back and try to fix this problem I'm having. Wow. If I told you guys what was going on, it wouldn't help. It would just tick me off more. So I'm not gonna say what the problem is yet. But I've got 20 seconds, and the problem I'm having cannot be fixed. All right, here we go. All right, hour number 2 has begun. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. I'm going to continue where I was without much recapping because I'm having I was talking in the first hour. I'm having a problem off the air that I can't take care of while I'm on the air, and it's not making me happy. But I've got an hour and 55 minutes to go, so I'll keep going. Show must go on. Let me tell you, I love it. I have been on the air in so many different problems that I've had going on professionally, personally, all kinds of craziness. And this is not the worst that I've had to deal with during the show, but it's definitely something. And I'm not going to share it with you yet. Maybe I will. I don't know if I will. Okay, so let me recap a little bit because I've got some audio sound bites and I want to have some context. So what I was talking about, let me just wipe it away from my mind, the problem, put it in the bank till the next break. Part of the problem is I've been trying to resolve the problem during the break. So during the breaks, and it's been, 3 breaks I've been doing this through because I learned of the problem at the bottom of the hour in the 6 o'clock hour. So I spent that break and the 2 breaks after trying to resolve the problem during the breaks, and that's created another problem. So, but hey, keep listening, and you may hear what the problem is. And I may lose it. It depends. It depends. All right, so let me get back on track. So what I was talking about in the first hour was this scumbucket, Jon Ossoff, who's running. He's the Democrat senator from Georgia. He's running for re-election, and he's out there accusing President Trump of having an affair with his aide, Natalie Harp. And this is part of what I was talking about in the first hour is that this is a part of an effort to elevate Ossoff. Right now, again, the Democrats are in pretty dire straits, so anything they're working on could change in 10 minutes, okay, because they're a disaster of a party. But what they're looking at with Jon Ossoff right now is they're looking at making him their nominee in 2028. And what they're doing with this, if you saw what happened with this Natalie Harp story, is they've got a whole effort, right? He brought up the slander at his fake rally with his fake supporters out there pretending to support him en masse, okay? And he says it, the media reports it, and then this CNN girl asks the president about it in the Oval Office in front of that little boy whose life was saved by the lifeguard yesterday. So there's a coordinated effort to make the story real. If they just say it enough, it'll be real. So then Ossoff goes on with Jen Psaki on MS Now. Let me okay, hold me. Let me cue this up. She's now Jen Psaki, if you remember, she was an aide, because there's an aide and she's a female and the president's a male, of course they're having sex. Well, Jen Psaki worked at the Obama White House. Does that mean she was having an affair? Give me a break. But Jen Psaki, the first time I remember knowing of Jen Psaki was not by her name, was by her face. Remember when President Trump was president-elect the first time and he went to visit Obama at the White House when he was president-elect, and they had that photograph of all the sad Obama staffers. She was one of them. Let me see if I can find that. And she would look at all sad face because Donald Trump was the president now. Let me see if I can find that. Okay. Obama staffers. I'm not sure. What would I Google for that? Obama staffers, I don't know, sad at the arrival of President-elect Trump. Let me see if I can find this. It's a famous photograph, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. Yes, it is. Okay, I found it. Yeah, and this was a great one. It was Valerie Jarrett led the Obama staff. President-elect Donald Trump comes to the White House, and Jen Psaki, she looks like you know what? They're all wearing black, and Jen Psaki, when President-elect Trump arrived at the Obama White House, she looked like a Democrat at JFK's funeral procession. I mean, she was really upset, and because they thought that they had control of the country forever, and they didn't realize that they never realized that they would lose control of the country. And you see Jen Psaki when President-elect Trump came to the White House the first time. You can tell by looking at her face, she had been crying all night and all day, and probably put down a couple boxes of wine, with the kind that Kamala likes to drink. So she hates Trump. So she has Ossoff on her show. Listen.
Why'd you decide to invoke Natalie Harp specifically in that speech?
Because he's a scumbucket who has no class and doesn't mind slandering people, but
Why'd you decide to invoke Natalie Harp specifically in that speech?
Well, Jen, thank you for having me, and here's the point. We're in wartime. The commander-in-chief has mired us.
Okay, now this guy here, I've known radio guys like this. You see how slow he talks? He talks so slow. Do you know why he talks so slow? Why do you think he talks so slow? There used to be this guy, I don't know if he's still around, Neil Bortz. Anybody remember Neil Bortz? Is he still around? I don't know if he's still around or if he still does this. He was on the air in Atlanta. This was many years ago, and I was in Atlanta, and I was listening to him on the radio, and he used to talk slow and take these dramatic pauses. And do you know what the why people like this take dramatic pauses and speak slowly? Because every syllable of every word that they utter is brilliant. And you, as a listener, need to savor the brilliance. So if they speak slow and take pauses, you can savor the brilliance of all of the utterances out of their mouth. It's true. I've seen this with people.
Why'd you decide to invoke Natalie Harp specifically in that speech?
Well, Jen, thank you for having me, and here's the point. We're in wartime. The commander-in-chief has mired us in this geopolitical disaster. People have lost their lives. Our naval logistics are frayed. The global energy system is in crisis. And he retreats into this bubble of West Wing aides who are his security blanket to make him feel good about himself.
What?
Wow. The words that he uses, let's go through this a little slower. Hold on. And this idea that he's surrounded in a bubble, he has a press conference every day, sometimes multiple press conferences a day, with the people that hate him the most, the press corps, right? Let's go through what he says here.
We're in wartime.
We're in wartime.
The commander-in-chief has mired us in this geopolitical disaster. People have lost their lives. Our naval logistics are frayed.
Our naval logistics are frayed. This is the false narrative of the starvation going on the USS Abraham Lincoln. That ship is going to be coming home soon. When they walk off the ship, are they going to be carrying them out like they've been in some POW camp in Japan for 5 years?
The global energy system is in crisis. And
okay, the global energy system's in crisis. So the energy system was not in crisis when the terrorists of Iran were in control of the oil over there?
Retreats into this bubble of West Wing aides who are his security blanket to make him feel good about himself.
Okay. You know, there is, when he takes these questions, I'm going to play some clips of the press conference after the break. When he takes questions from the White House press corps, is that a security blanket? You know, the other presidents, Clinton, Obama, Biden, they didn't take random questions. They had charts that told them who to call on. And, you know, I learned about this when Obama was president. I've never heard of this before, but this is how the Democrats do it. Do you know that the White House press briefings during Obama and Biden, okay, not Trump, but during Obama and Biden, do you know that what you saw on TV was rehearsed? This leaked out when Obama was president. During the Obama and Biden presidencies, the White House, Jean-Pierre did this, the White House press corps would answer the questions off camera back in the offices of the press, and they'd give them the answer. And then they would do a replay on television. I'm not kidding. They were scripted, rehearsed plays. I couldn't believe when I found this out. I thought they were just, I knew they were friendly to the Democrats, but that's a whole new level. It's true. That's not the way things happen with Trump. Not just his press secretary and whoever the next one will be, but with him. Those are random questions out of left field that have nothing to do with the event, and he calls on people at random. How can you say he's in a bubble? I want to talk about Dr. Appleton and his robotic laser wave pain treatment. I'm going to go through this very incomplete list, but some of the most common pains that the robotic laser wave pain treatment of Dr. Appleton's can rid you of. But let me tell you, the pains that I suffered from that Dr. Appleton rid me of, on a scale of 1 to 10, the least pain was a 5 or a 6. And the worst pain on a scale of 1 to 10 was about a 25. I remember when I went in for one of my shoulder injuries. This was the worst. Oh, man, I was on the, I got this issue I've been griping about going on now. But if you were listening this particular day, I had this shoulder pain. I was on the air. I was at the radio station in so much pain. I was almost in tears. I was on the air telling you, when I get off the air, I'm going to Dr. Appleton's office. And the way that pain felt, it felt like in the front of my shoulder, someone had a Ginsu steak knife stuck in my shoulder and was cutting the muscle. And then on the side of my shoulder, it felt like I was being punched by Mike Tyson. That's how I described it on the air that day. I went to see Dr. Appleton, and he examined me. And he moved my arm to examine me to find out where the point of the pain's origination was. It hurt so bad, I almost fell on the floor. Dr. Appleton treated me right there with the robotic laser away pain treatment. I said, Doc, I'm going to need all your miracle working today. He says, don't worry, the laser will treat that. I felt relief when I was leaving the office just a little while later. And then, of course, I went back for a follow-up over the weekend. But after the very first treatment, I felt relief from that shoulder pain, and it was bad. It works on every type of pain I've ever heard of. I've been learning about new pains all the time from listeners out there that have pain and suffering in all kinds of parts of their body. Arthritis, bursitis, bone on bone, gout, TMJ, pre- and post-surgical pain, neck and back injuries, knee conditions, tinnitus, sciatica, spinal stenosis, fibromyalgia, plantar fasciitis, rotary tears, herniated disc, acute pain, chronic pain, and more. Give Dr. Appleton a call and say bye-bye to your pain. The consultation's free. Appointments are never necessary. Walk-ins are welcome even on Saturdays. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. That's 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. We'll be right back. Oh, boy, I tell you, I am not happy. Let me see if I can figure this thing out now, which I should not be doing during the break. All right. I have not remedied the situation, but the show must go on. Welcome, everyone. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. Oh, this is really great. All right, we're back. I'm Brian. It's Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show on the radio since 1977. All right. So let me get back to this creep. This is Jon Ossoff, who the Democrats think they're going to run for president. And here's his speech with his fake crowd of people, okay? Now, the internet just paused. It doesn't want me to play the speech. I don't blame the internet. That's all I need are more problems. All right, well, we'll come back to him. And let me pull up Jake Tapper discussing it.
We know the reason that Natalie Harp's name is mentioned. Now, he gets to do this whole too cute by half thing, and it's a wink and a nod.
Awesome.
This is the Jake Tapper panel on this yesterday.
Yeah, also, what he's talking about is this long-standing rumor that Donald Trump is having a relationship with Natalie Harp. That's what he's referring to. So this whole Harp thing that the media is now picking up on, it's really consistent. So you asked about how the Republicans feel about this. We've been here before. We saw what happened during the Bush administration, where these were these salacious rumors that Condoleezza Rice was having a relationship with then President George Bush. We saw
That's
with
right.
Melania Trump having to sue the Daily Mail because they called her an escort. We saw it with Sarah Sanders, Huckabee Sanders, when the comedian Michelle Wolf talked about her ashes being makeup. We've seen this over and over again. The only thing that Natalie Harp has done is been an assistant to Donald Trump. And we've seen over and over again, when it comes to the left, when it comes to Democrats, and when it comes to even media, they are willing to ignore all of these type of misogynistic and sexist remarks against Republican women or those who are aligned with Republican men. That is what this is about.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let me see if I can pull this up now with Ossoff talking. Nope, it doesn't want me to play. Here we go.
Uniquely despicable.
Yes, you are.
But they deserve competent leaders who send them into combat only when necessary, and with decisive clarity of purpose, not fools who lie about the purpose and progress of war. And while the sailors on the Lincoln fight his war, while he fruitlessly drains our munitions and oil reserves, the president sleeps through his meetings. He golfs and trades stocks. See, he doesn't want to do the job. He wants to build his ballroom and travel with Natalie on their apparently defenseless flying palace gifted by the Emir of Qatar.
See, and that's where it all began. This is who is the flavor of the week. This is, if you look at what the Democrats over this primary season have done, it's really bizarre, sad, and strange at the same time. The Democrats, what the Democrats have done is go from one front man to the next, and they've fallen, right? Their first one was the Nazi, Graham Plattner. They had this guy, right? He's going to bring men back to the Democrat Party. He looks like the Marlboro Man. He's got that raspy voice. He doesn't fully shave. They're making him look like he works hard, even though he's a bum living off his parents. Then they found out about the Nazi tattoo and then the rape allegations. But then they moved on to Abdul. Oh, Abdul, yes, Dr. Abdul, and then people realize, well, this guy's totally messed up with his creepy videos, and his Blues Clues thing really did him in. And then he's got Hassan Piker, and that's a mess. So now they're moving. This is the third man who's going to save the Democrat. Notice they don't go to women. It's always men. This is the third man who's going to save the Democrat Party. Jon Ossoff, he's the president's equal. Graham Plattner was a Nazi accused of rape. Abdul's not really a doctor, and people don't like him, and he's got this 9/11 issue that's going on with him. He's out. So Jon Ossoff, he's going to be their savior. This guy, it's going to turn out for him the same way as it did for the others. He's going to be discredited. And you know why? Because he's a creep. And everything about this guy is orchestrated with his planned fake crowd and the media collaboration that's going on. Now, I'm going to move on to some other topics after the bottom of the hour break, okay? My name is Brian Craig. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show on the radio since 1977. That's right, celebrating 49 years on the radio. We'll take our break for the bottom of the hour. When we get back, there's a lot more to cover. Don't you go anywhere.
or skilled nursing facilities or nursing homes. All of those are very expensive levels of care, and if you're not prepared, you need to be prepared to possibly go broke or significantly changing your lifestyle or your surviving spouse's lifestyle, just because that cost can come out of your pocket if you don't have a plan. And there's really two plans you can have other than spending down your own money. One is to have insurance, which is called long-term care insurance. And the problem is most people don't have it or don't have enough of it. So you're still in danger of not having that protection or running out of that protection. Mm-hmm. And so that really leaves the only option, what we help people do at the Siegel Law Group and what we've been helping people for almost 25 years doing. That's called elder law Medicaid planning. And Medicaid planning, it's not for only the impoverished. They don't need a law firm to help them become eligible because they're already eligible. People like you, the majority of you listening, who are people that are not poor, but also you're not ultra high net worth, you're somewhere in the middle, those are the people who are in danger of spending down your assets and going broke. We help people avoid that fate by not going broke, by protecting their assets and still getting the care that they need. But what you need to do is to be proactive and call our firm so we can do an audit of your situation, let you know if there's anything you need to do now in order to be prepared in the future, or if you or a loved one is needing care or receiving care now, then you need to call us right away so we can stop that financial bleeding and make sure that you don't run out of money before you run out of life.
Yeah, and nursing home and at-home care can bankrupt families that have never even had to worry about finances in their entire life, Barry. Isn't that true? I mean, it's so expensive. For
sure. That's exactly why this is so important for people to pay attention to right now.
And it's avoidable. It's avoidable. That's the important part. Listen, give the Siegel Law Group a call and schedule your no-charge in-office consultation. 855-FLA-3782. 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 And online, SiegelLawGroup.com. All right, Attorney Barry Siegel. We'll talk later in the week.
Terrific. Thank you.
All right, take care, Barry. All right, we are back. Okay, now, this election is important. They're all important, but the next few elections every election's important, obviously, but some are more important than others. And, I came across this article early this morning when I was doing show prep in the Atlantic magazine. And it really shows one of the things that President Trump saved us from. And here's the thing. The next several election cycles are more important than any other election cycles we've experienced. They really, truly are, except 2024 was huge because that began what the next few election cycles are about. What President Trump saved us from, there's so many things he saved us from with his re-election in 2024, no doubt. But if the Democrats come back into the White House in the next election or two, that woke one that AOC is trying to distance herself from, it will come back in force. And I was reading this article in the Atlantic, and I'm gonna read some of it to you. And this is really nuts, okay, to me. But then again, at the Atlantic, and they have a picture of a woman talking on a very old cell phone on the vice president's plane, which I'm assuming is Kamala Harris's plane. And here's the headline in this Atlantic magazine article. By the way, the photograph's in black and white, which is not by accident. Okay, they made this photograph black and white for a reason. But here's the headline. It's under the national security section of the Atlantic, right? The wrong kind of American. See, and what the liberals think in Trump's America, there are good kinds of Americans, the right kind of Americans, and bad, wrong Americans. Listen to this. The wrong kind of American. The Trump White House needed me until the fact that I am trans became public. Oh my goodness. Now listen to this. At the CIA, they started an office pool on when I'd be fired. President Trump would be sworn in for his second term at noon. The smart money had me gone by 12:15. Yeah, because this psycho narcissist thought that because they're trans, that President Trump and his minions, they all knew about him, and they were going to fire this transgendered person right after the inauguration, because that's what was on top of mind with them, right? At the CIA, they started an office pool on when I'd be fired. President Trump would be sworn in for his second term at noon. The smart money had me gone by 12:15. But the smart money hadn't counted on Trump's first pick to run intelligence for the National Security Council being shredded by an online mob of suspicion of disloyalty. There wasn't yet anyone in place to fire me. Don't you love this? So we've got a transgendered CIA officer here who is unqualified to be a CIA officer with this level of narcissism. If their assessment, if their national security assessment is that President Trump's first action would be to fire them, their assessment's pretty off and self-centered, isn't it? Trump didn't even know who this person was. After taking the oath, Trump spoke at the Capitol. As of today, it'll be henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. This is what this person wrote. Now, that's not the policy of the government. That's called like nature, biology. Did he? An NSA colleague asked. She glanced at me and looked away. Yeah, I muttered. The good news is I was one of those two genders. The bad news is the administration would have views as to which one. Okay? I gripped my badge. I could take it off and leave, but I didn't. And it goes on like a novel. So this transgender person eventually left. And I read this article in its entirety, which you can read if you'd like. It's on my X. I'm not going to go through any more of it. But what they wrote about is how they were recruiting transgender CIA officers, and how they had met multiple transgender people working at the CIA who were inspired to join the CIA based on them being transgender at the CIA. Now, first off, this army of trans CIA agents that we've had, the only purpose I could see in that is if they were bringing them in to work as honeypots to do some undercover work overseas with some people that are into transgender stuff. But first off, CIA agents and officers are supposed to be kind of like secret people. How would transgendered people be inspired to join the CIA by this transgendered person that you're not even supposed to know about? That's number one. Another thing too is, when it comes to people that are transgender, they're on so many medications affecting everything about them and their hormones and everything. Is that really the kind of person that should have a top secret security clearance? And they have some of the highest security clearances out there, higher than many cabinet officials, depending on what they do with the CIA. It seems kind of crazy to me. But they were according to this article in The Atlantic, and this transgendered former CIA officer, who they have a photograph of them in black and white, so they look more female, right? Now, once you know the person's trans, there's no hiding it. You can tell. But if you didn't know and you took just a glance, you might not notice that they're trans. But in black and white, it does hide a lot, right? Black and white and a lot of tape in certain areas hide a lot. But this army of transgender CIA officers and agents that they were recruiting during the Biden years, the things that were going on in this country in the last 4 years are so insane. They erased the southern border, brought 25 million illegals here, many of them violent rapists and killers and all kinds of other things. The whole transgender thing, when the transgender thing started, I thought, this is so stupid, it's just going to fade away. And then we find out that now we know, according to this article in The Atlantic, that there was a major transgender recruitment going on for CIA agents. Now, how many transgender people are there out there, right? When you're looking at certain organizations, the CIA is one of them, okay? You're recruiting the best of the best. Are there enough transgender Americans out there to recruit the best of the best qualified people? It seems to me no. So if we don't win these next couple of election cycles, this is the trans mafia are going to be back. Then this is crazy, okay? This is the mayor of Dearborn, Michigan. Do you know what his name is? Abdul, which is short for Abdullah. Right? No, he's not the guy running for the Senate. That's another Abdul, okay? And listen to this. This is, this guy. No, this is not the mayor of Tehran, not the mayor of Beirut. It's the mayor of Dearborn, Michigan. Listen to what he says here.
That is the mission in which they will fail at. I was just 11 years of age when I had the first gun pulled on me for being Muslim.
Okay, hold on a second here. I know it's hard to understand him with that Michigan accent. Have you noticed the Michigan accent has changed? You know, it's like when I get calls from people in Southern California, from Los Angeles, and sometimes you'll hear me ask them about their accent, and they're like, "Oh, this is a Los Angelino accent." To me, a Los Angelino accent is Valley Girl, like, oh my God. But now it's Mexican, right? But the new Michigan accent, you know, Gretchen Whitmer has a Michigan accent. The Michigan accent is kind of like the Fargo accent, right? Or that accent that Sarah Palin has. But that's not anymore. Now Muslim accents, that's the new Michigan accent.
That is the mission in which they will fail at. I was just 11 years of age when I had the first gun pulled on me for being Muslim.
Okay.
In the days after 9/11.
Okay. So this guy, and he's pissed off. You see, this is the mayor of Dearborn, Abdul. Okay? And he said after 9/11, at 11 years old, he had a gun pulled on him for being Muslim. By the way, that was the first time it happened, right? Isn't that what he said?
That is the mission in which they will fail at. I was just 11 years of age when I had the first gun pulled on me for being Muslim in the days after 9/11.
Okay, so, a lot of these politicians that they cast are method actors. Oh, I looked at the clock. I got a break. So let me take a break, and then we'll finish up with the mayor of Dearborn when we get back, all right? This is great. All right, hold on a second. Who am I going to tell you about here? Hold on a second. Oh, yes. Coastal Weight Loss Secret. Coastal Weight Loss Secrets changed my life, okay? I'm wearing a size small shirt. I used to wear a large, and now I wear a size small. And you look at this, and it fits me. You know, it fits me perfectly like it was tailor-made. And I have a completely flat stomach. No longer do I have partially obstructed view. Nobody wants partially obstructed view. But I thought that was just part of growing older, right? You get the belly, and that's it. What are you going to do about it? And you always hear you can't lose that. Oh, yeah, you may be able to exercise and lose some weight, but that belly, you're not going to. Coastal Weight Loss Secret, the home of the metabolic reset. I have a flat stomach now, and I didn't before. You know, Coastal Weight Loss Secret have helped thousands of patients just like you, just like me over the years, and they've learned a lot. That lasting weight loss isn't about finding some diet, a quick fix. It's about resetting and improving your metabolism. And Coastal Weight Loss Secret is actually created with Dr. Zuckerman, their doctor-developed metabolic reset. Okay, now this isn't some weight loss gimmick or trick. This is an actual thing that works. I am living, breathing proof of it. Coastal Weight Loss Secret stands behind their program because they've spent years refining it, working with thousands and thousands of patients. This is a program built around the science of metabolic health, not trends, not shortcuts. And this program is built around habits and strategies that consistently produce results, which I've experienced and you've seen in me, those of you that have been following my weight loss journey, having kept it off for over a year. You don't need another diet. You need a metabolic reset. Call Coastal Weight Loss Secret and schedule your no-charge consultation. Virtual appointments are available, okay? So no matter where you're located, they can help you. If you can't make it in person, that is okay. You can do a virtual appointment, 561-359-3418. 561-359-3418. And online, coastalweightlossecret.com. All right, we'll take our last break of the second hour. We'll be back with the mayor of Dearborn after this. All right. Hang in there, guys. Does he look pissed off, the mayor? He looks pissed. All right, we'll be back in 1 minute, guys. All right, we are back. All right, so let me get back to the Muslim mayor of Dearborn. And if you're just joining, I mean, this guy, you could see in his face, he's angry. But let me go back to this. Hold on, here we go. I'll start it over.
That is the mission in which they will fail at. I was just 11 years of age when I had the first gun pulled on me for being Muslim in the days after 9/11.
Okay. A couple things about this. I'm going to call total BS on that. What about you guys? Now, as I was saying, there's a lot of casting going on in the Democrat Party. And some actors act with different things, but these guys, they're deep in character, right? It's called method acting. So he may actually believe this happened because he's a method actor, so he's convincing himself of these things. But he said two things. He had a gun pulled on him at the age of 11 after 9/11 because he was Muslim, right? Not only that, it happened multiple times. So my question to him is that I would have a few questions to the mayor of Dearborn, Michigan here, okay? My first question is, when you went home and told your parents that someone pulled a gun on you for being Muslim when you were 11, because you would go home and tell your parents, when your parents called the police and the police came to your house, what happened? Who was this that pulled this gun on you at the age of 11? Where did this happen? So we can look at the police report that your parents filed when they called the police. Because their 11-year-old son had a gun pulled on him out in public for no reason whatsoever other than being Muslim after 9/11. These are questions, right? And these are good questions, aren't they? And then he says the first time he had a gun pulled on him. So how many other times have you had guns pulled on you for just being Muslim? Where did this happen? Who pulled them on you? And when you called the police in these instances, what did the police say? And can you please tell us what police departments responded to your call of these crazy racist gunmen so we can get the police reports? Wouldn't you like to see these police reports that Abdul's parents filed? Oh my goodness. I'm going to call complete BS on that story. Okay, but he's not done. Let me rewind. It's a short clip. Let me rewind it, and then he shares something at the end.
That is the mission in which they will fail at. I was just 11 years of age when I had the first gun pulled on me for being Muslim in the days after 9/11. It's been 25 years since that day. Still unchanged.
Still unchanged. People are still pulling guns on him for being Muslim?
Proudly believe that the name Abdullah Hussein Hamoud is as American as any other.
Did you hear that? Did you hear what he said? I can't even say the name. Listen.
25 years since that day. Still unchanged. Proudly believe that the name Abdullah Hussein Hamoud is as American as any other.
Abdullah Hussein Hamoud is as American of a name as any other? Hey, that's the world we're in. And I'll tell you, if you see this is a video that I'm playing the audio off of. So if you go to my X, Brian Craig Show, you can see the video. This guy is in a rage. He is plenty ticked off. And you know what he's angry at? America and Americans. I don't believe this happened at all. Now, if there was anything involving guns being pulled on him, my guess would be that he was up to doing something that caused somebody to pull a gun on him. And if he had a gun pulled on him, I would imagine it was a police officer because he was out doing something he shouldn't be doing. But let me tell you, in the days after 9/11, if there had been a story out there on the local news anywhere that someone pulled a gun on an 11-year-old for just being Muslim, it would have been all over the news because the media was liberal then too. Right? You know, there are things that happen to people, okay? When you think about this, those of you that have children, 11 years old is what, 5th grade? I remember 5th grade very well. Could you imagine your 11-year-old 5th grader comes home and tells you that on the way home from school, someone pulled a gun on them? What would you do? You would call the police, wouldn't you? If what he is saying is true, with this very American name, Abdul Hussein, whatever, oh yeah, it doesn't get more American than that. There would, and it's not that long ago, because he's only in his 30s. These police reports would still exist of all of these multiple incidents of people pulling guns on him just for being Muslim. Now, like I said, I think he is so deep into his BS, into his method acting, that he believes it's happened. Okay? I really do believe that. That's how sick he is. Now, if you started to question him, the delusion would fade away and he'd get angry. And if he's telling the truth, fine. I want to make sure. If someone went around pulling guns on 11-year-old kids, and how would you know he's Muslim? Was he wearing Muslim clothes? I don't know. He dresses like in American clothes now. But if there was a police officer or anyone pulling guns on people because they were Muslim, especially 11-year-old children, I want to make sure that person's ability to legally possess a gun is taken away from them, because that's a dangerous person. I don't remember any stories of anyone pulling guns on 11-year-old children after 9/11. Do you? Do you know why you don't remember? Because it never happened. That's why you don't remember. He made the whole thing up. I believe. Do you think he did? Now, I'll ask you in the listening audience. Did Abdul Hussein, whatever the rest of his name is, this very American name of his, do you think he made that story up? I do. Now, I want to talk about Tom Laporta over at Laporta Roofing. Oh, man, I think about Tom Laporta all the time because it rains like every day in Florida. Sometimes it rains overnight, and it rains hard. I wake up in the morning, and I can tell it's been raining all night. Sometimes it rains in the afternoon. That's my favorite because it cools everything off. If you've got a wet spot on your ceiling, you've got a leak in your roof, and that's a danger. First off, that leak is only going to get bigger, and the damage is going to get worse. And if you call Tom Laporta when you see that first wet spot on your ceiling, you very well may need a simple repair. But if you let it go, that simple repair is going to turn into a very complex problem, and you could find a repair turning into a roof replacement unnecessarily. Give Tom Laporta a call. He covers both the east and west coast of Florida and everywhere in between. This number rings directly to Tom Laporta's cell phone, so you can call or text 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. And online, LaportaRoofing.com. All right, we'll take our break for the top of the hour, come back with more, and Steve Kane will be joining us shortly, right after this. What do you got? Let me know in the chat on that, yes or no. Do you believe Abdullah here? That's the most BS story that I think I may have ever heard. You didn't give anybody direct links. You can't post links in the chat, man. Okay, we got about 45 seconds and we'll be back. 15 seconds. Welcome back, everyone. The 8 o'clock hour has begun. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 years on the radio. My name is Brian Craig. Welcome back, everyone. Okay, now, the Democrats, you know, today's primary day is very exciting, and then tomorrow is the beginning of the election season. You know, the primaries, we've had a few exciting primaries and some moments, but this, as I've been talking about all morning, this midterm is really so important. They're all important, I know. But this one is. I mean, this one is more important than the last. I'll tell you that. Because things are going very well in America under Donald Trump. And if the Democrats were to take back control of the governors or of the House or God forbid, the Senate, we're done. And the Save America Act, John Thune, this rhino, you know, remember, rhinos are Democrats. That's what they are. The rhinos are Democrat, Republican in name only. That means they're not really Republicans, they're Democrats. And John Thune has done a very good job, for whoever his handlers are, from stopping the passage of the Save America Act, hiding behind all this filibuster nonsense. Nobody buys that, everybody knows. Nothing can really be done about it under that system right now. However, come January, we're going to have a new Congress. We're going to have the majority in both houses. The House will pass it again. And the Republican Senate will elect a new leader, and it's not, and that new leader is not going to be Thune. And the Save America Act will be passed in January when the new Congress comes in. The president will sign it into law, and this is the most important legislation that's been signed since the civil rights legislation in the 1960s. It really is, because all of our civil rights are being violated through all of this fraud that's going on with the Democrats. They have dead people voting, fictitious people voting. They have illegals, other foreign nationals vote. You know the story. And the Save America Act will liberate all of the American people. In fact, you know, I often talk about President Trump being a civil rights leader. The MAGA movement's a civil rights movement. President Trump's a civil rights leader. And the civil rights of all American citizens are being violated by the Democrats every time there's an election without the Save America Act, for all the reasons I stated and more. And it's pretty simple and pretty reasonable. Proof of citizenship, to prove you are legally eligible to vote, and state-issued photo ID to vote. So you prove that you are who you say you are, right? No more of this registering people to vote in shopping malls and in parking lots or just writing names down on a sheet in some room somewhere. And those of you that are Democrats, your civil rights are being violated too with this. Every time a non-citizen votes, a fictitious person votes, or a dead person votes, and it's really amazing, the dead vote, the fictitious vote, and the foreign vote, why does it go Democrat? What is it about the Democrat Party that attracts the fictitious vote, the vote of the dead, and the non-citizens? What is it about the Democrats that's attracting that? Oh, my goodness. But every time one of those three vote, your vote is canceled out. Think about that. That's how your civil rights are violated. And I think it's a safe assumption that about 90% of the problems that we have in this country, almost every problem is caused by the Democrats, 90% of the problems we have involving politics in this country will be resolved on day one with the Save America Act. And not only is the Save America Act the most important legislation to be passed since the civil rights legislation in the 1960s, it's the most popular legislation that I've ever seen that crosses party lines. I've been shocked that over 80% of Democrats support the passage of the Save America Act. Over 75% of blacks, over 80% of Hispanics support it. And of course, Republicans, it's almost 100%. And John Thune is the one man who stopped its passage. Who I don't know who's he's working for, but it's not for his constituents and it's not for the American people. I don't know who it is. But he's working for someone. He's not just on some ego trip, although I'm sure he's got some ego issues. But I wanted to share this with you, okay? This is C-SPAN. They took a call. Listen to this, C-SPAN.
The Democratic Party, from its peak with John F. Kennedy as president, a man of intelligence and courage, to where it is now, it's really terrible. I would love to hear a potential Democrat say something like, "Yes, I think that we definitely should have voter identification, proof of citizenship. If a person went against the party in a significant, meaningful way like that, that would be a person worth voting for. But unfortunately, apparently it's not going to happen."
Okay. Ronald there from Long Island.
Yeah, and by the way, that person called on the Democrat line on C-SPAN. They got rid of them real quick. The Save America Act not only is supported by the majority of Democrats. I'm not talking about these sellout hacks in Congress. I'm talking about rank and file Democrats around the country. Almost all Republicans, of course, but the majority of Democrats. That is a complete reversal. The black support for the Save America Act is well over 70%. When Obama was president, voter ID was being debated, and the polls showed that 75% of blacks were against it. Now it's reversed. And the reason that is because blacks are rightfully very angry that so many illegals have been coming into the country and with their foothold. And that's what flipped them on that. But you need ID for everything. Do you know that millions of American drug addicts need ID to get their drugs? Have you ever been in line at the... I've had this happen a few times. I don't go inside Walgreens very often. Usually I go through the drive-thru. But 3 or 4 times I've been in line at the pharmacy at Walgreens, and there's some drug addict up there who's trying to get their narcotics, and it's too soon, and they won't give it to them, and they freak out. They have to show ID to get their narcotics, even though it's, prescribed to them. They have to show ID. You need ID for everything. Everything in this country. Can't leave your house without it. You can't drive without it. There's nothing you don't need ID for except to vote. And everybody knows why the powers that be across party lines, the rhinos and the Democrats don't want that because that's how they maintain control. And John Thune is really the last of the rhinos in power. President Trump has purged the Republican Party of most of the rhinos, and there were very few rhinos still in power. But John Thune, you know, if you were to write a book about him, it'd be The Last Rhino. And he's shameless. Whoever is backing him to stop the passage of the Save America Act, he's doing a great job for him, no doubt about it. But he's not even embarrassed at what he's doing. He doesn't care. He goes to the White House. He goes to events. He has press conferences. This guy has no shame whatsoever. He's completely crazed. Now, we'll take our break. Steve Kane will be joining us. And I have not even hardly touched on any of my stories today, but I've got some more things. I'm going to recap a couple things with Steve, see what Steve has on the plate, and then I also have a bunch of stories I haven't gotten to yet, okay? If you're on hold, hang in there. We'll take a quick break. Our number is 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. I want to talk about Dr. Gupta over at Brighton Dental. And, you know, one of the things about Dr. Gupta, I'm going to tell you, not only is he an old-fashioned family dentist, who's a highly skilled dentist, okay? When you go and see Dr. Gupta at Brighton Dental, you're going to feel like he's a family dentist from your family because he's been a listener of the Steve Kane Show for many, many years, even before I was a part of the show, which tells you how far he goes back. So you're going to have a lot in common and bond with him immediately when you meet with Dr. Gupta. He's going to be literally a member of your family because he's listened to the Steve Kane Show for so long. But, you know, when we talk about Dr. Gupta, you know, we talk about a lot of things, but one of the things you hear a lot of ads for dentists talking about painless dentistry and sedation dentistry. And, you know, and people think that the pain from dental work is the number one thing that scares people away from dentistry. I don't think that's true because there's medications for that, right? You take medications for it. You know what dental work's all about. I think the pain of the price is more painful than that. And I think the fear of the cost, the pain to the wallet, the pain to the bank account is the real pain that people fear when it comes to maintaining their teeth. Well, with Dr. Gupta, that's not an issue because not only is he an old-fashioned family dentist, he has old-fashioned family-friendly prices as well. Give him a call. His number is 954-922-4633. 954-922-4633. That's 954-922-4633 for Dr. Gupta at Brighton Dental. Okay, we'll take our first break at the 8 o'clock hour and be right back.
That will separate the man from the boys.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, I don't mind. All right, 1 minute.
I think we need to have a meeting it. Get Lori.
All right, we're back. I'm Brian. Steve Kane is joining us. So it's a big day today, Steve.
Yes, it is a big day. I'm all excited.
You know, there's a couple things here local, okay? One is Byron Donalds, who's projected to win the primary today, and let's hope he does, endorsed by President Trump. You know, Byron Donalds is going to be the first black elected governor of Florida. He's going to be the first governor of Florida who's black. And
there's no question of that.
That's a good thing. But the other race I'm really looking, I really am keeping my finger. I know this is unlikely, but I would really like to see Debbie Wasserman Schultz go down in a humiliating defeat tonight in her primary. But I think she's probably favored to win, as crazy as it is, in this black district she's running in. So it's just, you know, the thing, I was talking about this earlier, so I'll run this by you. We did redistricting in Florida. So Debbie Wasserman Schultz's district that she's run in for years no longer exists. So she's running in this black district in Pompano, right? The problem is there's about half a dozen people running in the race. And they're all black except her. So, and the ones that are running, most of them are pretty well known in the black community. One of them
is a rock singer or something.
Well, no, rap singer. Two Live Crew. Luke Campbell from Two Live Crew.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, and, you know, so he's a superstar. Alcee Hastings, there's a relative of Alcee Hastings that's running. I cannot remember how they're related, but a relative of Alcee Hastings. Another woman is running who was the congresswoman from that district who was tossed out of Congress by Mike Johnson. And there's a few others. So it's a black congressional district in this primary, this Democrat primary, and they've split the black vote so many ways. There's only 6, maybe 7 white people in the whole district, so they've split the black vote. So Debbie is all that's left. So she might pull through on the primary. And if whoever wins the primary will win the general election because it's a safe Democrat seat. I don't even know if there'll be a Republican opponent in that seat. If there is, it's just somebody that's got a lot of time to waste and lose, that doesn't mind losing. But I would love to see her lose tonight because if she were to lose, she'd be out of government forever, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and that would be a good thing because you know she's just it's time for Debbie Wasserman Schultz to retire.
Well, who is the candidate that represents the Arabs?
In South Florida, in Broward County, I haven't seen. I don't know. Is there an Arab? Is there enough enough Arabs in Broward to have a candidate?
Isn't that what this whole election is about?
In Broward, no.
For the Democrats?
Well, it depends on where you are. No, there aren't any high-profile Muslim candidates that I know of that are high-profile. I'm sure there's some somewhere, but none that I'm aware of.
Other than Luke, what's his name?
Well, no, he's not Muslim. He's black. Luke Campbell. Oh, you mean black Muslims? I wouldn't be surprised if there's a black Muslim like a Nation of Islam Muslim. There might be one, you know, in that neighborhood. But I was talking earlier. I've been seeing all of these photographs of Debbie Wasserman Schultz in the district meeting with constituents, and I think Debbie Wasserman Schultz has been in parts of Broward County that she didn't even know existed. I don't think she's been on these streets in Pompano in her entire life. Okay? Powerline Road through Pompano and is not her normal path. It's just not. But if she were to lose tonight, that would be a big victory. I'd be very happy. But the big one, of course, is we want Byron Donalds not just to win, he's projected to win, but win the primary by a lot. And if he does, hopefully DeSantis will come out and endorse him. Byron has indicated that that's already been talked about, so I hope. But, Byron Donalds is a superstar, and he'll help us around the country. He's very, very good. And this primary with Byron has been one of the nastiest Republican primaries I think I've ever seen in the state of Florida. There's been nasty elections, but I've never seen a Republican primary get as nasty as this. And the candidates that are running against him, in particular Fishback, it'll be nice to see them retired out of the public limelight. But starting tomorrow is the beginning of election season, and the next few months of this program are going to be so important. I mean, they're just between now and election day, there are so many key elections going on around this country that are very important. One of the most important outside of Florida, because it depends on who wins the Democrat primary in Florida, right? If Colonel Vindman wins the Democrat primary and is the Senate candidate, that's going to be a race we got to really fight hard for. If Vindman loses, we're going to win the Senate seat without any worries. But if Vindman wins, the National Democrat Party is going to be here in Florida trying to put him in the seat. Colonel Vindman's brother's in the House of Representatives. So, and they're trying to place him in the Senate. So if he wins that primary tonight, that's going to be a big one we're going to cover. But around the country, the biggest races, I think probably the biggest race involving Congress is that Michigan race with Abdul versus Mike Rogers. That's probably the most important, because if Abdul beats Mike Rogers, that's going to be a big inflection point in this country. If this Abdul, who hangs around with Hassan Piker, gets elected to the Senate, that would be the beginning of the end.
Who's the favorite in that race?
Right now, it's the Republican. Mike Rogers is ahead by about 5 points in the latest 5-6 points in the polls I've seen. But in every poll since Abdul won the Democrat primary, Rogers has been in the lead in every poll I've seen. So the trend is on his side. So that's good. But if Abdul wins that Senate seat, that's a big problem in this country. Big problem. The Democrats plan on running him for president. So if he loses, he'll be out. We'll never hear from him again, probably. After, they may have him on some talk shows a little bit here and there, but he won't have standing. But they've got if Abdul wins that Senate seat, they will run him for president in not the next presidential election, but the one after that. He will run. And the Democrats, they've placed people in key areas around the country. So there's Muslim pockets all over the country. Look at what they're doing in Texas. In Texas, not only are they building this huge Muslim community, there's a new Supreme Court case to take the Ten Commandments out of the classrooms again in Texas.
What is the status of that Texas race?
No, we're going to win the Texas. No, they stopped the mosque, but now they're building a housing development, which is basically a city. They're building a Muslim city now. The mosque is over, but the city is happening. Yeah. That's their plan to turn Texas blue. They're going to they're Islamifying Texas. And I think a lot of Muslims would rather relocate to Texas than Michigan, where it's below zero for half the year, right? So this midterm election, it has some of the hottest, most important races out there that I think we've ever seen. And because it's not that there's dozens of high-profile ones. There's a handful but they're key races. Mike Rogers versus Abdul in Michigan. That's right. That's the number one. Here in Florida, Byron Donalds winning. If Vindman becomes the Democrat Senate candidate if he wins the primary tonight and is the Senate candidate for the Democrats, Colonel Vindman versus Ashley Moody, that's a high-profile race. If Vindman loses, we've got it locked up. If Vindman wins, it's a whole nother ballgame. So there's this is a big day today. It really is a big day. And tomorrow, I hope we get these things settled tomorrow. And some of these I don't like these things where we got to wait weeks to find out who won elections. I want to get going.
It's frustrating.
Exactly. I want to get going tomorrow so we can, start winning. All right, listen, we're going to take our break for the bottom of the hour. Steve Kane is here. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. We'll take our break for the bottom of the hour and be right back. One minute, we'll be back. Are you there, Steve?
Yes, I am.
All right. All right, 30 seconds. All right, we're back. It's the Steve Kane Show. Steve's here. I'm Brian. Well, I think I just saw this article, Steve, during the break. I'll share it with you. And there may be some good news tonight. MSNBC is now MS Now, and they're hardcore Democrats, right?
Right.
They're going after Debbie Wasserman Schultz at MS Now. Listen to this. This is the headline. This is MS Now. It doesn't get more liberal than that. A slap in the face. Black Democrats blast Wasserman Schultz campaign. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is the only white candidate running in a redrawn South Florida district that has long been represented by black lawmakers.
I love it.
Congresswoman Federica Wilson. Isn't she the one that wears all the hats like she's going to church every day?
I do believe so.
Yeah. She says, that seat, Black history built.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great.
Being hoisted on our own petard.
Wasserman
How fitting.
Steve, you should see these campaign pictures and videos of her in the district with all these black people. It's hilarious. She's never been around so many black people. Listen to this. Wasserman Schultz, who is white, this is MS Now, right? I'm reading from, is now running for the seat based in the southeastern part of the state, which has been represented by a black lawmaker for more than 30 years. She's competing against 4 other Democrats, all of whom are black. and has a good shot at winning in a seat that is expected to stay in Democrat hands. You see what I mean? They've split the black vote 4 ways. If they would have all gotten together and everyone dropped out and endorsed one of them, but egos, right? Much of the black Democrat establishment isn't happy about it. She decided that she was going to come for a safe seat that has always had black representation. Why would you do that? Said Magic Hawson, the political director of the Broward County Democrat Black Caucus. Oh my goodness, she's got the Black Caucus after her. The president of the
terrific.
Yeah, another guy.
You've heard the expression about making the best of a bad situation.
Yeah.
Debbie is really up against it. It came back to bite her in her wrinkled butt.
We'll see. Ugh.
All those years of pandering down the drain.
Yeah, exactly. Well, one of the reasons I'd like to see her lose is not just so she won't be in Congress anymore, okay? But when a sitting congressman or congressperson loses a primary, they're out. It's a humiliation. It's like tar and feathering. When you lose the general election, that's one thing. But when you lose the primary, you're being rejected by your own, and nobody wants anything to do with you because you're a loser. So losing the primary would be devastating. Let me see here. Armando Grundy Gomes, president of the Democrat Black Caucus of Florida, has endorsed another candidate. Okay, and it's not Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Our preferred candidate would be anyone other than Debbie Wasserman Schultz. This is the Black Caucus guy. He reached out to her last month and she hung up on him, he says. She denies it. She hung up. Hey, this is Armando. I'm with the Congressional Black Caucus. Click! She hung up. Oh, my goodness. But she denies that happened. Debbie Wasserman Schultz does not seem to want to communicate, he explained. It's the 20th Congressional District. This is Alcee Hastings' old district, who used to fill in for you, right?
Correct.
Okay. Alcee Hastings, who served until he died in 2021. Since then, McCormick has held the seat. Now, McCormick, she was thrown out of Congress by Mike Johnson, okay, over some allegations of COVID relief funds, okay? But even though she was thrown out of Congress, she's running for the seat that she was just thrown out of again. So these are the people Debbie's going up against.
Debbie has no shame.
Local black Democrats say hanging on to the 20th district is more significant now amid mounting threats to future black representation in Congress after an aggressive Republican effort led by DeSantis and Trump to redraw Florida's map. See, the redistricting, we redistricted all those black districts out. This is like the last black district in all of South Florida. And Debbie's trying to take that away from the African Americans of Broward County. Oh, my goodness.
That figures.
Well, I still say I don't want to make a prediction because I haven't seen any polls out of that district. But she's counting on them splitting the black vote 4 ways and her getting what's ever left over. And if she could very well, Steve, have the Broward Democrat machine on her side. She may not have the Black Caucus, but that doesn't mean that she doesn't have the Democrat machine on her side. We'll find out. And that's out of all the congressional races in the country, the House seats, that's really the only one I'm paying attention to tonight. The rest of them I'm not really that interested in. And I think with that one, it's just a little personal, right? Because she's been so bad, right? Did you see these this thing with Nancy Mace with the tattoos?
No.
Oh. Do you know who Nancy? You know who she is? She's the Republican in Congress.
Yes.
Okay. She's out of Congress. She was running for governor. She lost that. She's one of these Republicans that crossed Trump, mainly over the Epstein files. And remember, she went to one of the military academies, and sadly, she was sexually assaulted at the military academy, and she's a real nut. She was a few years ago, a couple years back, she was speaking to a group of Christian women, and she told them how she just had gotten finished having sex with her boyfriend in the hotel room, and she was a little tired from the sex, but she's still there to speak to the group of Christian ladies. I couldn't believe. She's a very strange woman. And then when President Trump addressed Congress, she tried to touch her chest onto President Trump. She was trying to rub her boobs against the president, and then he backed away. You know, she's a strange thing. And then but she's having a mental break. She's always been unstable, Nancy Mace, but she's not in Congress. She lost her run for the governorship. She's on her way out, and she went and got her arms covered in tattoos. She got like 10 to 20 tattoos. I don't know. She didn't have any tattoos. Now her arms are completely covered in tattoos. It's
They call it sleeves, I think.
Sleeves, major midlife crisis. I mean, she is. It says here the 48-year-old South Carolinian bared her tattoo arms in a bikini during a high-octane introduction for Get Maced, which is her YouTube channel or something. She's got a YouTube channel called Get Maced, hosted by Nancy Mace. You know, there's certain things that men and women, when they go through these midlife breaks, they have different things that they do. Women usually just go out and change their hairstyle, right? If your wife changes her hairstyle, she's thinking about leaving you guys. If she's middle-aged, okay? That's when women either are getting divorced or have just gotten divorced, they get a new hairstyle. And if they go out and get their arms completely covered in tattoo, I'm not talking about, she was not like a tattoo person that went and got a new tattoo. She had no tattoos on her arms, and then she went out and got both arms completely covered in tattoos. That's like Britney Spears head shaving crazy. She's lost her mind, Nancy Mace. And I tell you, we got very lucky that she's no longer in our MAGA movement. She can go hang out with Marjorie Trader Green, because Marjorie Trader Green and Nancy Mace both are unglued. And the reason she's gone, Nancy Mace, is the same reason that Marjorie Trader Green is gone. They're the two, and Massey, Marjorie Trader Green, and Nancy Tattoo Mace here, who's having a midlife crisis breakdown. Those three Republicans are responsible for the entire Epstein file story resurgence over the last year and a half. They're the ones that were behind the press conference with the victims. They're the ones that got all the discussions going and all the House hearings. They're the ones that got
a hot mess.
Yeah. So what Trump did is he purged the Republican Party through primaries of the Republicans behind the Epstein stuff. Nancy Mace, Massey, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. They're all gone, and they're the three that brought us all the Epstein stuff. And Nancy Mace, the tattoos and the mental break is because she realized she screwed up her life. She was set. She was a star in the MAGA movement. Everybody loved her. She was like a sought-after speaker and endorsement and everything else. And then she got in bed with Marjorie Trader Green and Massey with this Epstein thing. And because she had this sexual assault thing when she was at the military school, that's like been her cause celeb. She screwed up her whole life over the Epstein, which there was nothing there with the Epstein. All three of them said that they would name the names. None of them have named any names because they had no names. And what happened with the three of them is, I don't know who, but they had somebody bring them in. We're going to do Trump in with this Epstein stuff. Well, everything's always a plot to try to stop Trump. And these were the three that did it. And Trump got rid of all three of them. This should be a lesson to other Republicans. Don't betray Trump. Don't cross Trump. Don't challenge Trump, or you'll be like Nancy Mace, covered in tattoos, taking selfies in bikinis, making a fool out of yourself. or like Massey hanging out with Marjorie Trader Green in Costa Rica, desperate for attention. All right, now we'll take our final break coming up, and we'll come back with the gold report. There's a few other things to cover as well, and we'll get into those after the break. All right, you're listening to the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. But before we break, Steve, I want to talk about your neuropathy in Lighthouse Medical. And Lighthouse Medical, when you had neuropathy, it was pretty bad. And I thought, because your neuropathy was pretty bad, I thought you had advanced neuropathy. You had kind of like the mid-level neuropathy, believe it or not. And because I ran into a couple of our listeners that had really advanced neuropathy. I mean, really advanced. And they don't anymore because of the neuropathy treatment like you at Lighthouse Medical. And neuropathy only gets worse. I mean, if it's left untreated, I don't know where the end is. Because it just continues to progress and the symptoms become stronger and stronger and stronger. And I bet you, Steve, most people with neuropathy are homebound and bedbound. I mean, there's just, you have no quality of life. Well, with Lighthouse Medical Center and their neuropathy treatment, they can treat you and rid you of your neuropathy no matter what stage. Now, if you're in the very earliest stages or in the middle stages, you want to get in there before it gets worse. But if you have advanced neuropathy where you cannot get out of bed, or you have a spouse or a parent or a loved one, another relative that have it, they can get their life back. Go to Lighthouse Medical. Their treatment works on no matter how advanced your neuropathy is. I've seen it work not just in Steve Kane, but many of our listeners. And they just rave and rave about how some of our cruisers, Steve, had pretty bad neuropathy. Yes. And they've told me, I would not be able to be here if it were not for Lighthouse Medical. And they're going with us on our excursions. Some of them are going snorkeling with us and doing all this stuff. And these are people that were bedbound before they went to Lighthouse Medical. Listen, guys, call Lighthouse Medical. When you call, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the Steve Kane Show so that you can take advantage of the no-charge consultation. 754-222-6642. 754-222-6642. That's 754-222-6642. And online, lighthousemedicalcenter.com. We'll take a break, come back with the Gold Report after this. All right, and it's time to check in with William Youngerman from the offices of William Youngerman Incorporated in Boca with the Morning Gold and Precious Metals Report. William Youngerman, how are the metals looking today?
Metal's giving us a little bit of a buying opportunity with a nice rally yesterday. So a little bit of some profit taking today, pushing the markets a little lower. But yesterday we saw gold trade in a range of $4,366 on the low, all the way up to $4,430, and close out the day up $40.30 at $4,415.90 the ounce. Silver gained $1.08 yesterday, closing above $65.66 the ounce. So platinum was up $25, closing out at $1,770, and palladium gained $10 at $1,308. As I said, we're a little bit lower this morning. Gold trading overnight in a range of $43.85 on the low, all the way up to $4,437 on the high. And right now we're at $43.91.20. That's down $24.70. Silver at $65, down 64 cents. Platinum down $20 at $1,750, and palladium down $8 at $1,300. So still gold nicely holding around that $4,400 number.
Yeah, yeah, things are going. It's a good day to buy. What are some of the good deals that you would recommend on gold today?
Pretty much all of the standard bullion items are right on normal premiums to a little bit lower than normal.
Really?
And so the buying opportunity is there. You can pick and choose any of your favorite items and get great values today.
You hear that, guys? Listen, William Youngerman opens up at 10 a.m. Stop in. His address, 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca, on the first floor of the Bank of America building, immediately east of US 1 Federal Highway on the south side of Palmetto Park Road. And when you go in the building, William Youngerman is in the lobby directly across from the bank. Or you can give him a call, toll-free, 800-327-5010. 800-327-5010. And find both his address and phone number on his website, williamyoungerman.com. All right, William Youngerman, we'll talk tomorrow.
Okay, I was going to mention one special we have for Steve King listeners, and that's the old pre-33 gold.
Yes.
The old double eagles, the $20 gold pieces made from 1850 to 1933. We have those on sale to Steve King listeners for just their gold value. No premium over gold. And that's on a limited supply. So that's special for Steve Kane listeners.
Yes, guys, and pre-33 gold is it's really you're getting gold for the price of gold, no premium. It's some of the most sought after gold because they don't make those coins anymore because they haven't been making them since before 1933. All right, William Youngerman, that's a great deal. Thanks so much. We'll talk tomorrow.
You're welcome.
All right, take care. Yeah, that pre-33 gold, Steve, is pretty cool. I was just looking at Fox, and I was going over some of the different races. And in Fox, they got a big story on Wasserman Schultz. So it's like it's a front leading story on Debbie Wasserman Schultz at Fox News. Wasserman Schultz, an 11-term. This is Fox. Wasserman Schultz, an 11-term congresswoman and former DNC committee chair, is running for re-election in the newly drawn 20th district, even though she lives in an adjunct district. So she doesn't even live in the district. She's faced criticism from black leaders for being the only white candidate running for a majority-minority seat that's been represented by black lawmakers for 3 decades. See, this is the thing, and with Democrats, in particular the black Democrats that are running. And And hopefully we'll have a black Republican running. I don't know. We'll find out. If there's a black Republican who's running against Debbie, they can use this idea. But these black Democrats, like Luke Campbell and all the rest, all they did was sit around during this whole primary and complain about how they're being victimized, because that's how liberals think. What I would have done, if I was advising Luke Campbell or one of these black candidates running against her, I would have done a series of videos, and the local news would have been very happy to go along with this. But you could have done some campaign commercials. Go to where Debbie Wasserman Schultz really lives, okay, and show how white it is. You know what I mean? And then compare it to the district that she's running in, and you could do a whole compare and contrast about how she has nothing in common with anybody in this district. And about how she's never even been in the district in her whole life, even though she's lived here her whole life. She's never been in these neighborhoods before. But they sat around and complained that they were victims and they were being victimized by the man and the white man and all this stuff. And they just They almost deserve to lose to Debbie Wasserman Schultz, really, for not doing this. But, whatever. What are you going to do? I'm still going to say the odds are in her favor, but let's keep our fingers crossed. But, Steve, Byron Donalds, see, this is an exciting thing because, Florida is really becoming...
He's running for the governorship.
That's correct. Yeah, and he's going to win. Byron Donalds is going to be running for vice president one day with Marco or, it'll be a couple of election cycles away, but he's going to be the running mate of Marco
candidate.
Or something. Yeah. And he's the Democrats' worst nightmare because he's black MAGA. And to have the first black governor of the state of Florida be a black Republican is pretty big accomplishment. And he's not one of these guys that came from some rich connected family and was groomed their whole life and everything else. And I know that he does not have a perfect life in his youth, but most of these people that run are groomed their entire lives to run for Congress. So either they have a squeaky clean background, or their background's been cleaned up and you don't know about them. So you don't. And somebody who's normal, things come up. Like with President Trump with that Access Hollywood tape. These candidates, when they're groomed to hold elected office their entire lives, they go through their whole life thinking that way. When regular people that aren't born into political dynasties are running for office, you find things sometimes that you might not see with a normal candidate. So I know his background isn't like a normal guy running for governor, but so what? I think that's a good thing because he's more relatable. And when he will become, I'm trying to think, out of black Republicans that have been elected, I'm talking about elected office, will he be the highest ranking black Republican that's won an election in the country? I'm trying to think, who have we had that's been a black Republican that's been elected to an office equal to or greater than governor? Because I would say governor is equivalent to senator. I think he'd be the highest ranking black office holder in the country, or at least highest profile, because Florida is a major state and it's pretty important. Now, I want to talk a little bit about life imaging. August is National Wellness Month, okay, guys? And that's great because not only do you want to go in for your heart scan, you want to make August the month that you go in for your heart scan at Life Imaging every year, because you really need to have this done every single year. Heart problems develop. And you want to find out before they get worse. You want to find out before you have that widowmaker heart attack. And at Life Imaging, when you go in for that scan, which takes just a few minutes, there's no excuse. The machine is open, so you're not inside anything. You don't have to take your clothes off and put on a hospital gown. I wore my shirt and jeans. I didn't even have to take off my watch, okay? When you're over there, make sure you ask about their full-body cancer screening and virtual colonography and say goodbye to sedation. Remember, Life Imaging have locations in Broward, Palm Beach, Dade, and in Orlando. Call now for your free heart scan with a few minimum requirements valued at $699. From your cell phone, dial pound 250 and say free heart scan. That's pound 250 and say free heart scan. You will be connected in seconds. Pound 250, say free heart scan. You'll be connected in seconds. All right, yeah, so the Byron Donalds race is, see, one of the reasons it's so important, there's a number of reasons why it's so important, okay? One, for the very first time in history, Republican early vote turnout has surpassed Democrat turnout by tens of thousands. That's never happened before. We've always been behind the Democrats. This is the first time our early vote has been greater than the Democrats in the state of Florida. So not only have we flipped the seat, we've got momentum. And what's going to happen with Byron Donalds is he's going to be one of the most high-profile Republicans in the country. He's going to become really a national celebrity. When there's issues that are out there that are national news, the mainstream media are going to go to Byron Donalds to get his opinion. because he's the Republican governor of Florida. You see DeSantis on TV all the time. It's going to be Byron Donalds, and that's going to elevate him even more. And Democrats are in a complete panic. The MAGA movement, President Trump has already taken such a dent out of the black vote for the Democrats that they can't recover from it. And Byron Donalds, it's just going to be a nail in their coffin. And the thing about it is, the president's from Florida. Florida is about to become the most populous state in the nation, right? After the next census, we may be number one. There's been so much migration and movement to Florida, and we're going to get, so Florida is so important. It's the center of everything, not California, not New York, Florida. And having it, so if you have not voted, and you got to vote today in Florida's primary, we're beating the Democrats in turnout by tens of thousands already. We need to swamp them at the polls, because if we have a mass Republican turnout, which I predict we will, a record-breaking turnout in a midterm, we've already had it in the early voting, that's going to discourage the Democrats so much. It really is. Because Florida used to be a part of their blue wall, and it isn't anymore. And if we overwhelm them, as we've been doing in the early voting with our primary day voting turnout, it's going to be a dagger in their heart. They're going to lose momentum going into November, which is what we want to do. So do not miss tomorrow's show, because we're going to be covering all the primaries, and there's going to be a lot of big ones to talk about, and breaking down and which ones are important, which ones are not. And we're going to start getting what's going to happen now is we're going to start getting the real fight, because this is basically it. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know what primaries are left, if any. The Florida primary, that's when the race begins. Well, listen, everyone, it's been a fun day today, although I don't want to get into the details, but I have been broadcasting with much frustration today, to say the least. You
might say that.
Oh my goodness! It's not that there's worse things that could happen, but it's just when it happens during the show is when it gets frustrating. That's all. It's just frustrating. Because when we're on the air, we can't do anything about anything. We're in front of the mic until 9, and then we can go and take care of business. So this has been a very frustrating 3 hours, I must say. But tomorrow will be a new day, and all will be forgotten, and everything will be perfection tomorrow, I'm sure. Oh man, keeping my fingers crossed for today. This is when I went to vote and they checked my ID, they checked my signature, to make sure the signature matched. And that's fine. That's fine. And they said they were going to check, and I said, man, I signed that driver's license so many years ago, and they said the B matches. So
let's just hope there are no major screw-ups today.
The screw-ups mean we've won. The screw-ups mean the Democrats are seeing what they can do. All right, guys, that's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. My name is Brian Craig. Steve Kane, of course, has been here. God bless America, and God bless Donald Trump. See you tomorrow. All right. So anyway, guys, I'm going to sign off and try to take care of these problems. But thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Before you go, please do me the favor of liking the video. If you've not already done it, please like the video. When you like the video, you get the video recommended to people that have not yet found the channel, okay? So please like the video, all right? My name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I'll see you this afternoon. Thanks for tuning in.